Sometimes the byline can be just as important as the main line in the sport of boxing. When you talk about a fighter's story, what he has going on, personally yet professionally, he is one to tell the tale once he gets in the ring. And for a fighter like Sergiy Derevyanchenko, the Ukraine native has a lot to fight for. And this Saturday, he will be back in the ring, and he is still gunning for an opportunity at a title. Will he be successful? The experience that he has under his belt says that the chance is good. Eventually, this man can be a champion. And we're here to talk about him just a little bit more. This is something about Sergey. We're going to talk a little bit about Sergey Derevyanchenko a little bit. This man has a lot on his plate. He has faced adversity for a minute. And yet and still, with everything that's going on in the world today, he is still up against it. But as a true fighter, he's gunning for the opportunity to eventually fulfill his dreams and become a world champion. After facing off against the likes of Danny Jacobs, he saw his hopes dashed with his first loss. Now, Jacobs outboxed him in their match, and it was the type of fight that saw him learn something, because when he went into that fight with Jacobs in October of 2018, he was down in the first round, and he didn't know that it was going to be an uphill battle after that. But yet and still, it was not a clear-cut victory for Jacobs. It turned out to be a split decision loss for Derevyanchenko. But going into that fight, he was prepped and ready, just like in the vein of other fighters like whom he faced in his second defeat, a unanimous decision loss to Gennady Golovkin. And that fight came in October of 2019. But this is the thing. In the fight against Golovkin, many people felt that Sergey had done enough to win this fight. Golovkin was starting to look like an older fighter, a little shop-worn. His face was tremendously marked up as Sergey battered him with power shots, body shots. But there was just something about Triple G that the judges saw favor in. And the thing about that, he was down in round 1 again against Triple G. Boxing Scene put out an article earlier on Sergey. And he says, I'm always fighting for the Ukraine. I represent my country every time I step into the ring. And with everything that's going on, he says, I have family and good friends there. When I'm back home, I'm relaxed. And when I come back, I have a lot of power. Talking about the time that he spends in between fights. This is the thing about it. Though there have been no trips since the war has broken out in February, leaving Derevyanchenko to distract himself with training in his adopted hometown of Brooklyn, New York, where this Saturday he will fight for the first time since 2018 against Joshua Conley on the undercard of Danny on the undercard of Danny Garcia and Jose Benavidez Jr. But at 36 years old, he's still gunning and hopes for a title. The great thing about fighters like Sergey is, in his 4 losses, they all have come against top-tier opposition. It's not like he's been out there getting battered and beaten up by young studs. He's facing off against men who definitely are championship caliber, if not contender caliber warriors. And even though his next 2 losses factor in tremendously, Sergey is going to have an opportunity to turn things around. One of the things about boxing is this: all you need is the opportunity. When you get the opportunity, you have to be prepared. And nothing prepares you like being in there against quality opposition. He knows this. He knows it very well, all too well. Because take, for example, his 3rd loss came to Jamal, Charlo, and that was in September of 2020. And in that fight, he faced Charlo in a way where it tested Charlo's mettle. Being just a little bit more athletic than Charlo, Sergey saw himself on the outside not being able to get past that vaunted left jab that Charlo has been known to utilize. But it still made for a competitive fight. It told us questions to be answered about what Charlo had not faced at that point in his career. A durable and sturdy man, a man who's had an outstanding amateur background, but it hasn't necessarily transferred over into the professional ranks. But Sergey always comes in shape. He always gives his best. And he's a strong man. He's strong mentally and physically. In today's boxing, when you can hold on to those attributes, you're just that close to victory. And there are a number of guys who do not know how to make adjustments. After every loss, he has made an adjustment. And it'll be interesting to see what he can do this coming Saturday. I believe that depending on who he faces in his next title shot, if it's for a vacated title, he has a very good chance. If it's against someone that we do not know, he still has yet another chance. But given like his fourth loss against Carlos Adames, what we saw in that fight was a majority decision that he dropped to Adames. But Sergey is still in the fight, man. He's still there. He's still a man to be reckoned with. And that's the most that you can ask for a contender. At 36, again, the clock is ticking, but it has not yet run out. I want to see him do well. Some people in the boxing world, you just like them. And he has always been one. When that close decision that was unanimously scored for Triple G came back, I didn't like those scores at all. I thought that Derevyanchenko had done as much as he could to win that fight. And if Triple G didn't have the name in the sport that he had, and they were still trying to preserve him in the Canelo sweepstakes, maybe things could have turned out differently. In fact, he against Canelo himself would be an interesting fight. Because although he doesn't have movement like some of the fighters that give Canelo problems, his physicality, his punching strength, and his intestinal strength are trying attributes that Canelo would find a challenge. I still feel strong at middleweight, Derevyanchenko says. I'm going to keep working and facing the best challengers I can so that I'm back in title contention. When asked, is there anyone in particular, he says, I want to fight any of the champions at middleweight. Charlo, Golovkin, Arislandi Lara, Demetrius Andrade, and Janibek Alimakulny. Jaime Munguia will be a great fight. There's a lot of strong fighters in the division, and I want to face any of them. I love this because when it comes from him, these are his words. It doesn't come off as superficial. It doesn't come off as braggart. It doesn't even come off as arrogance. This is a man who wants to meet challenges and test himself because he feels that he can be a world champion. And those names, they're all the names that you can speak in this division. I want to come back stronger, and I'm ready to show it, he says. I feel strong physically. I still have the desire, mentality, and my body is still responding and able to perform. That's all I can ask for. How many times have you heard me speak of this when I talk about the sport of boxing? And here you have a fighter, a contender, who is not only reiterating the significance, but he's living it. This is what we talk about. And when a guy has it like that, he can bring it. And he can be successful in what he does. This is all we ask of the fighters of today. And I tell you, with everyone talking about the same old things over and over and over again, sometimes if you allow yourself to open up your peripheral, you will see that just out of sight, someone is on the horizon, coming, creeping up, ready to snatch opportunity by the throat. And I believe eventually Sergey Derevyanchenko will be a person who takes that opportunity and makes the most of it. What do you think? Do you think that this man will eventually become a champion? Or will he just be one of those who have really given the best that he can give and was just not good enough? Remember, we're talking about today's stage, not yesteryear. This is Stormybman. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think about Sergey Derevyanchenko's chances at becoming a champion at this stage of his career, and the fact that he wants to face the most quality of opposition available to make that happen. There's something to be said about someone who wants it like that. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone, please remain safe.